The question goes like this. The church preaches soul is more important than body. If that's the case, why so much importance is given for the academic curriculum while catechism so easily neglected? Please highlight on faith education. So the question is about body and soul. Perhaps this is what we call a discourse that has been going all through the history. First of all, this distinction that is made between body and soul. This idea of dividing the body and the soul comes from the what we call the Greek philosophy, the Aristotle idea, that Aristotle and the Greek philosophers believed that there was two things. One is called the spirit, the soul, which is invisible, which is at the center of the being, and the second is the body. I don't have to explain what is body, what we are. And so the body can be corrupted, body can be injured, can be destroyed, but the soul remains. The soul remains. This is a Greek idea of the human person. And therefore, perhaps in the church, also what we call St. Thomas Aquinas, who based his philosophy also on the Aristotelian philosophy, also perhaps explained things in this idea that man is made up of body and soul, while his soul or the inner being of his comes from God. The body, of course, also comes from God. The body can disappear or can disintegrate, but the soul always remains as it is. There are beautiful expressions for body and soul. In the book of Genesis, we speak of the breath of God. Ruha, it's called in Hebrew, the breath, the spirit that gives the soul. In Latin, we call it anima, the soul. And perhaps pneuma also, which speaks of the spirit. In our Indian language, in Sanskrit, we call it atma. And the second part, as I said, the body, soman, it's in Greek, and this body which is integrated with the soul makes up the human person. First of all, we always do not make this distinction so sharp that one is different from the other. In fact, the Hebrew philosophy or Hebrew thought and tradition speaks of the person as a person, body and soul as one person. In fact, they don't speak of the body separately and the soul separately, but they speak of the one person, the human personality, we call it. So therefore, this human personality, which is expression in the body, which is interiorized in the soul. So that is the philosophical idea. So now to come to the body and soul, I would not agree very much to say that the church considers the soul as more important and body as not important. Both are important. Both are important. We cannot say that my soul is a spirit, so that is important. I will do what I want in my body. I will eat as much as I want. I will sin as much as I want because it's my body that's going to corrupt. No, both are together. And the expression that has come is, why do we stress more on the physical education, the intellectual education, or perhaps the education of our students so much that we neglect the soul part or the catechism part, the spiritual part? This is, of course, the danger. Because body is what we see, body is what we feed, body is what we feel pleased, and therefore perhaps this carnal, what we call the pleasures, and this one we are always sometimes subscribing to these carnal things and we forget about the spiritual matters. But not so much, I would say, acute to say that we don't have to study, we have to gain knowledge, and therefore our intellectual capacity or the academic education is also important. At the same time, our spiritual knowledge, that the children are given at a tender age, that first of all, that they believe in God. They believe in the presence of God. They believe in Emmanuel, God who is present among us. And as the gospel says, to believe in the providence of God, to put trust ourselves in God. That is catechism. That is catechism. Catechism is not an intellectual subject, an academic subject that we learn by heart just for the sake of exams. Catechism is a subject that has to bring us closer to God. And therefore, both are important. And as the The center of the question says we should not neglect even the catechism, the catechetical instruction. We should give it as much importance as we give to our studies or academic formation. This is my answer, and I wish you a very happy and a pleasant week this time. We are almost, as I said, having the feast of St. Peter and Paul to conclude this month. Be alert, be contained, and at the same time be happy in your families. Thank you.